The knight's hands were still stained with blood when the child bit him. Not attacked, bit. Gently, like a starving puppy testing if its master would hit back. And in that moment, Brother Marcus knew two things with absolute certainty. This was no ordinary child, and God had either abandoned him or given him the strangest mission of his 800-year life. Let me back up. Marcus hadn't aged a day since 1307, the night the King of France ordered every Templar in his kingdom arrested. While his brothers burned at the stake, screaming prayers into smoke-filled skies, Marcus had been on a different mission, guarding something the Grand Master called the Pale Treasure. He'd assumed it was gold or some holy relic. He was wrong. It was a curse, bound in silver and sealed with Latin he couldn't read. When the king's men came, Marcus broke the seal, thinking it would give him power to fight back. Instead, it gave him time. Centuries of it. The curse didn't make him a vampire, not exactly. It made him something in between. Immortal but still breathing. Still bleeding. Still very much capable of dying, just never from old age. He'd spent the following centuries doing what Templars do, protecting the innocent, hunting the wicked. But by 2023, the world had forgotten men like him. He worked construction in Pennsylvania, kept his head down, and tried not to think about the fact that everyone he'd ever loved was 800 years dead. Then came October 14th. Marcus was walking past a burned-out church on the edge of town when he heard a child crying. Not the normal cry of a lost kid. This was the sound of something dying slowly. He found her in the basement, chained to a stone altar with symbols carved into her skin. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Pale as paper. Eyes like black coins. Fangs no bigger than a cat's. Someone had been trying to kill her. Slowly, ritually, Marcus broke the chains, and that's when she bit him, barely breaking skin, desperate to know if he'd hurt her like the others had. His blood must have tasted wrong, because she immediately pulled back, confused. "You're not food," she whispered. "What are you?" Complicated, Marcus said. Her name was Elise. She didn't remember much before the church, just flashes, a woman singing, a house that smelled like cinnamon, then men in robes taking her away. She'd been a vampire for less than a year, turned by someone she couldn't describe. The cult that held her believed killing a vampire child would grant them immortality. They'd been bleeding her dry for months. Marcus should have walked away. Should have ended her mercifully. Vampire children were abominations. Every hunter's text said so. They never aged, never learned restraint, became monsters within months. But when Elise looked up at him with those terrified black eyes and said, "Please don't leave me alone again," Marcus made a choice that would damn them both. He took her home. For 6 weeks they managed. Marcus taught Elise to control her hunger, fed her animal blood from the butcher shop, kept her hidden. She was smart, curious, asked a million questions about the world. She'd never been to school, never had a birthday party, never owned a stuffed animal. Marcus bought her a teddy bear, and she cried for an hour straight. But the cult was looking for her. Marcus could feel them circling closer, watching his apartment, following him to work. He needed help, someone who understood this world better than he did. That's when he walked into the Starlight Diner at 2 a.m. and met Rachel. Rachel Torres was 32, working double shifts to pay off her mother's medical bills, and absolutely done with life's nonsense. She had a scar across her collarbone from an ex-boyfriend, a tattoo of a broken hourglass on her wrist, and the kind of tired eyes that said she'd seen enough darkness to recognize it in others. Marcus sat in her section and ordered coffee. She poured it and noticed his hands, scarred in ways that don't happen from construction accidents. Old scars. Sword scars. "You running from something or toward something?" she asked. "Both," Marcus said. Most people would have walked away. Rachel sat down. He told her everything. Every impossible word. When he finished, Rachel was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "My little sister went missing 6 years ago. Police said she ran away. I know she didn't. You know what I think happened?" Marcus nodded slowly. "So, if you're protecting a kid from those kinds of people," Rachel said, "I'm in." That's how a 800-year-old knight and a burned-out waitress became the strangest family in Pennsylvania. Rachel was better with Elise than Marcus ever could be. She taught her to braid hair, to laugh at cartoons, to be a kid despite everything. For the first time in her short, horrific life, Elise had a mother figure. And Rachel, who'd spent 6 years drowning in guilt and grief, had someone to protect. But the cult found them anyway. They came on a Tuesday night, 12 of them, dressed in street clothes but carrying silver blades etched with binding symbols. Their leader was a woman named Vera, who spoke with the kind of calm that only comes from absolute fanaticism. "The child is an abomination," she said. "You know this, Templar. Why do you defy God's order?" "I've met God's order," Marcus said, stepping between them and the apartment where Rachel and Elise hid. "It doesn't look like you." The fight was brutal. Marcus was skilled but outnumbered. They didn't want to kill him. They wanted him to watch what they'd do to Elise. He took down 7 before silver cut deep across his chest, dropping him to his knees. That's when Rachel walked out, holding Elise's hand. "Stop," Rachel said. Vera smiled. "The waitress. How noble. Step aside." "No," Rachel said. "Take me instead." The cult members laughed, but Vera's eyes narrowed with interest. "Explain." Rachel knelt in the street, hands open. "Your ritual needs a sacrifice, right? Someone pure, someone willing? You think that kid counts, but she doesn't. She didn't choose this. But I do. I'm choosing. Let them go, and I'll give you whatever you need." Marcus tried to stand, to scream no, but the silver had paralyzed him. Vera stepped closer to Rachel, studying her. "You would give your soul for an abomination?" "I'd give my soul for a little girl who deserves a chance," Rachel said. "That's what she is under all this. Just a little girl." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Vera did something unexpected. She called off her people. "We accept your terms. But know this. Once we begin, there is no stopping. Your soul will burn to fuel our ascension." Rachel looked back at Elise one last time, smiled, and said, "Be good, okay?" Then she walked away with the cult. Marcus healed over the next 3 days. Elise barely spoke, barely moved. On the 4th day, Marcus made a decision. He took Elise to the church where they'd held Rachel, knowing the ritual would take 7 days. They found the cult in the basement mid-ceremony. Rachel was bound to the same altar Elise had been, covered in the same symbols. She was still alive, barely, but the light was leaving her eyes. "You came back," Vera said, sounding almost pleased. "Come to watch her ascend." "No," Marcus said. "I came to offer a better trade." He stepped forward, and for the first time in 8 centuries, he spoke the words he'd been too afraid to say. The counter-curse to his immortality. The thing that would end him but break the ritual permanently. Vera's smile faded. "You'd unmake yourself? For them?" Marcus looked at Rachel, at Elise. Every time. The words tasted like iron and smoke. Reality bent. The cult's circle shattered, their ritual backfired. And in the chaos, Marcus cut Rachel free while Elise, tiny terrified Elise, showed her fangs and fought with a fury that sent grown men running. They made it out. Barely. Marcus collapsed in the parking lot, feeling 800 years of borrowed time catching up at once. Rachel held his hand while Elise cried into his shoulder. "Will you die?" Elise whispered. Eventually, Marcus said, "But not today. Curse was only half broken. Bought us time." "How much time?" Rachel asked. "Enough," Marcus said. They disappeared after that. New city, new names, new life. Marcus teaches history at a community college now. Turns out living through it makes you pretty good at the subject. Rachel opened a small bookstore. Elise goes to school, has friends, still drinks blood, but only from ethical sources they order online. Sometimes Marcus wakes up feeling the weight of centuries, knowing he's living on borrowed time. But then he walks downstairs and sees Rachel making pancakes while Elise argues about homework, and he thinks this is what he was meant to protect all along. Not kingdoms or treasures or holy relics, just a strange little family that chose each other when the world said they shouldn't exist. And maybe that's the only kind of holy that matters anymore.